Picture your leadership team gathered around the boardroom table, right?
Yeah.
It's quarter end. You're looking at the CRM export from your sales director, and, well, revenue looks fantastic.
Right.
It was a banner month. So why is your finance director staring at a zero export that says margins are down? And more importantly, why is cash flow incredibly tight? Welcome to this deep dive. I am your host, Lex.
And I am your expert guide, Vera, representing the C9 podcast show.
We are so thrilled to welcome all our C9 followers today, and we are dedicating our time specifically to you, the Australian business owners and C-level executives who are navigating some seriously choppy waters right now.
Absolutely, because today we are zeroing in on a massive theme. We're focusing on the effective decision.
Yeah, we have a stack of intelligence reports from C9 to go through, plus some pretty sobering research on Australian SMEs.
Very sobering. The core finding here is that chaotic, fragmented data isn't just like an IT headache anymore. It is actively destroying cash flow.
Destroying it. So our mission today is to walk you through a 5-step framework to move your operation from basically flying blind to making bulletproof, data-driven decisions.
Right, because that gap between thriving and barely surviving, it really comes down to decision velocity. We are looking at a landscape where nearly 80% of Australian SMEs face significant cash flow impacts in just the past 12 months.
Wait, 80%?
80%! That's according to a recent CommBank and UNSW survey.
Wow.
Yeah, and the fallout from that is severe. 47% of SME insolvencies are directly linked to poor financial management. We are literally seeing leaders dipping into their personal savings because their businesses are holding less than 1 to 3 months of operating reserves.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
Because that brings us to the first step of this framework, which is classifying the problem. If your business is bleeding cash despite strong sales, the natural instinct is to assume you have a strategy problem, right?
Exactly. You assume your pricing is wrong. Or maybe the sales team isn't closing fast enough.
But often, it's not a strategy problem at all. It's actually a data problem. We suffer from this illusion of control because we're looking at numbers, spreadsheets, dashboards, financial reports.
Right, but those numbers are totally fragmented. The psychology behind that illusion of control is fascinating. As an executive, just holding a spreadsheet gives you this tangible sense of management.
You feel like you're at the helm.
Exactly. But consider the reality of legacy systems and, one-size-fits-all software. They create massive blind spots. Let's say you have late payments averaging over a week beyond terms. The sales system doesn't talk to the finance system.
So neither system flags the risk.
Exactly. Neither system flags the cumulative risk to your payroll cycle. Your competitors aren't necessarily offering a better product. They just have a clearer view of the battlefield. They can see that cash crunch coming 3 months before you do.
That makes me think of an analogy. Classifying this problem is like trying to fly a 747 by sticking your head out the window because your instrument panel is broken.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. And to make matters worse, your flight crew is sitting in the cockpit arguing over what altitude you're at based on how the clouds look.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You aren't actually making decisions at that point. You are just reacting to turbulence. You're waiting for the plane to literally shake before you pull up on the yoke.
And the most dangerous part of that broken instrument panel is that the dials are actively lying to you.
Yes.
Your sales dial says you're climbing, but your cash flow dial is stuck, and your inventory dial is, reading airspeed instead of altitude.
Right, because sales records booked revenue when a contract is signed.
Exactly, but finance records cash only when the invoice is actually paid. Both are technically right in their own little silos.
But without unification, they're completely useless for a holistic, company-wide decision.
Spot on. But realizing your panel is broken usually triggers the sort of panic response, right?
Oh, for sure.
The natural reaction for a stressed executive is to just throw technology at the problem. They assume buying a shiny new SaaS product will magically fix the turbulence.
But buying new screens doesn't fix the underlying wiring. And that is exactly where we hit the second step of the framework, which is defining the problem.
Yes. You have to clearly articulate what you are trying to solve before you buy anything. The C9 intelligence reports really highlight that vague briefs are the absolute enemy of ROI.
Give me an example of a vague brief.
So an executive will walk into a vendor meeting and say, "We want better visibility."
Better visibility.
And on the surface, that sounds perfectly reasonable, but better visibility is a wish. It's not a defined problem. It usually leads to developers building these incredibly cluttered dashboards that look like a spaceship console.
Showing you vanity metrics that deliver zero actual return on investment.
Exactly. Zero.
Okay, I see the logic, but let's play devil's advocate here. Let's put ourselves in the shoes of that overwhelmed business owner. If my margins are shrinking, and I'm dipping into my own savings to make payroll, how am I supposed to know which specific technical questions to ask? I mean, I might not even know what my data is fundamentally capable of showing me.
Well, the secret is you don't start with the data.
You don't.
No, you don't even start with the technology. You start with plain English business outcomes. Like, what is the specific thing keeping you awake at 3 a.m.?
Yeah.
Is it reducing write-offs? Is it improving on-time delivery for your premium clients? You start with that goal, and then you use the C9 template to work backwards.
And how does that template flow?
The progression goes like this.
Okay.
You start with the business goal. That leads to the business question, which informs the metric or KPI, which tells you the data source. And finally, that becomes the dashboard tile.
Okay, let's run a comparison on that.
Yeah.
What does it actually look like to move from a vague wish to a defined question using that template?
Okay, so a vague wish is, I want better visibility into our projects.
Classic.
Right. A defined question using the template is, which specific projects will overrun their labor budgets this quarter, and what early warning signs exist today?
Oh, wow. That is much more actionable.
Exactly. Another example. Instead of saying, I want to understand our customer base better, you ask, which of our top-tier customers are likely to churn in the next 90 days based on recent support tickets?
That shifts the dynamic entirely. You're moving from passive observation to an active interrogation of the business.
Completely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at the PubTech case study mentioned in the sources.
The hospitality group, right?
Yes. They operate in the hospitality sector, where margins are notoriously razor thin. Like, a slight spike in Tuesday labor costs can literally wipe out the week's profit.
Right. It's brutal.
It is. And they didn't just ask for better spreadsheets. They defined exact questions around central visibility of margins across multiple venues. By defining those questions up front, they ended up replacing all their manual Excel work with a national KPI portal.
So they knew exactly what operational levers they wanted to pull before a single line of code was ever written.
Exactly. They knew the questions.
So once you have formulated that hyper-specific question, you obviously need an answer. But in business intelligence, an answer isn't just a static number on a page.
No, not at all.
It's a progression. And this brings us to the third step, specifying the answer. The sources break this down into 4 levels of insight provided by custom analytic dashboards. And here's where it gets really interesting. Think of these 4 levels like a progression of medical care.
I love that analogy. It's a highly accurate way to look at it. The first level is descriptive analytics. This tells you what is happening right now.
So in medical terms, it's the doctor taking your temperature.
Right. And in business terms, it's looking at real-time sales by region. You know you have a fever, but you have no idea what the underlying cause is.
Which means you need the second level, diagnostic analytics. This tells you why it is happening.
The doctor orders a blood test.
Exactly. For a business, this is the ability to drill down into the data to find the root cause of the margin erosion. So, your descriptive dashboard says sales dropped in Queensland. Your diagnostic dashboard shows you that freight costs spiked on 3 specific days due to an external logistics bottleneck.
What's fascinating here is how we move to level 3, predictive analytics. This is where the mechanism of forecasting really comes into play. The system uses your historical data, combines it with your current operational velocity, and it tells you what will happen next.
So the doctor looks at your blood test and says, hey, if we don't treat this, you will develop pneumonia by Friday.
Exactly. In your company, this is a churn risk score or a cash position forecast. The system calculates your average debtor days against your upcoming payables and flags that you will run out of operating cash in exactly 6 weeks.
And then there's the final level, level 4, prescriptive analytics. This tells you exactly what to do about it.
The doctor hands you the specific antibiotic prescription.
Yes. For an Australian SME, this looks like a next best action prompt or a reorder algorithm. The system doesn't just say you'll run out of stock. It says you will run out of stock in 6 weeks. So you need to order 500 units from this specific supplier today to maintain optimal margins, factoring in their current lead times.
And that progression fundamentally shifts a company's posture. You move away from a defensive posture where you're constantly putting out fires, apologizing for late deliveries, reacting to cash crunches, and you adopt an offensive posture.
You're anticipating the market.
Right. The C9 report notes that data-driven organizations are 6 times more likely to retain customers. If you can predict a seasonal stockout before it happens, you don't just save money, you capture the market share of your competitors who are still sitting around waiting for their month-end reports to tell them they are out of inventory.
But, having a prescriptive answer, knowing you need to order 500 units today is completely useless if that recommendation is buried in a 50-page PDF that the C-suite won't even look at for 3 weeks.
Oh, absolutely.
The data has to be immediate, and it has to be visual. And this is the fourth step, deciding what is right. Because even with prescriptive analytics, human beings still have to make the final call.
Yes, the human element remains totally central. But the human brain is simply not designed to process rows and rows of raw database numbers efficiently. Cognitive load is a real issue.
Right, staring at cells all day.
When an executive stares at a spreadsheet with 10,000 cells, fatigue sets in. And what happens? They revert to gut feel decision-making just out of sheer exhaustion.
Have to get it over with.
Exactly. Interactive data visualizations solve this. They eliminate that cognitive friction. You can slice the data visually by state, by segment, by product, or by time, and you do it instantly.
And the intelligence reports emphasize rule-based views, which solves another massive bottleneck. You give the executive team a high-level cockpit view, the big picture dials, while giving the on-the-ground teams tailored access to the specific levers they control.
The Specialist Electrical Solutions case study, SES, highlights this perfectly.
Oh yeah, tell us about that one.
Well, C9 built them a modular portal that cut their financial reporting time from hours down to literally seconds.
Seconds, that's insane.
Right. They can analyze complex timesheets, rosters, and P&L almost instantaneously.
We look at the Tranex equipment case study. We see how crucial timing is. They operate in road safety products. In manufacturing, bottlenecks compound hourly.
Yes, their growth was totally outpacing their static reporting. So C9 built them a web dashboard that refreshes every 5 minutes using Python and SQL, and it features automated SMS and email alerts.
Just think about the reality of your own operation right now. How much faster could you pivot if you received an automated SMS alert the exact minute a job's profitability dropped below your target margin?
The exact minute.
Not 3 weeks later when the accountant finally reconciles the month. You could call the site manager, figure out what went wrong with the materials, and correct the course before the project finishes. That is the literal difference between making a profit and taking a loss.
This raises an important question about company culture, too. When you remove the friction of gathering data, you empower your team. The sources show that leaders who fully utilize business intelligence report efficiency gains of up to 56%.
56%. That's a massive competitive advantage.
Because you're freeing up human capital. Your smartest strategists are no longer spending 3 days a week exporting 0 files and formatting Excel pivot tables. They are focusing purely on the decision itself.
But, and this is a big but, a brilliant decision made in the boardroom doesn't mean anything if the wider company doesn't execute it.
True.
And execution requires trust. If your sales team doesn't trust the operations department's numbers, they're going to totally ignore the new strategy.
Yeah.
And this is our fifth and final step,
Yeah.
carrying out the decision. You need a single, undisputed source of truth that every single department relies on.
Lack of trust in the data is the primary bottleneck for execution. To ensure that trust, C9 uses a collaborative 4-step engine.
Walk us through that.
First, they discover and prioritize sources. So looking at your ERP, your CRM, your accounting software. Second, they clean and reconcile the data. Third, they model it securely with strict governance. And fourth, they build iteratively, starting with minimum viable KPIs so you aren't trying to boil the ocean on day one.
Wait, let's be realistic for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
What if I am an Australian SME and my data is not sitting in some pristine data warehouse?
Right, the real world.
Yeah. It is scattered across 10 different spreadsheets with conflicting naming conventions. My CRM is heavily customized and barely updated by the sales team, and my Xero account is an absolute mess. Does this framework actually survive contact with reality, or is it just for tech companies with perfect data?
That is the most common fear. But the scenario you just described, that is the standard starting point for almost every SME.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Nobody has pristine data. The crucial thing to understand is how data modeling works beneath the hood. When C9 cleans and reconciles your data, they are writing SQL queries and integrating APIs to map those conflicting sources.
Do they do the heavy lifting?
Exactly. If your CRM lists a client as John Doe and your Xero account lists them as J Doe LLC, The database creates a canonical ID to merge those records into a single identity. They untangle the messy spreadsheets and build automated pipelines, completely taking that complexity off your plate.
We see that principle scaled up in the Avo Data Project for Avocados Australia.
Yes, great example.
They modernized legacy systems to create industry-wide tracking and reporting. If you can reconcile data across an entire agricultural industry with hundreds of independent growers, resolving a messy zero account is highly achievable.
Precisely. The technical burden is shifted away from your internal team. You get a reliable, scalable solution aligned with Australian compliance and local data practices, allowing you to focus entirely on carrying out the decisions and driving growth.
We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. We've mapped the journey of the effective decision through the lens of business intelligence. We explored classifying the illusion of control, where spreadsheets give a false sense of security.
We discussed defining the problem by moving from vague wishes to specific questions.
We broke down the 4 levels of insight, from descriptive symptoms all the way to prescriptive cures.
We looked at deciding what is right by eliminating cognitive load through real-time visualizations.
And finally, we covered carrying out the decision by building a single source of truth out of messy data.
And, the intelligence reports lay out an immediate 3-step action plan to get this started today.
Let's hear it.
Step 1, list your top 3 business problems. Is it cash flow predictability, margin erosion, supply chain bottlenecks? Step 2, turn those problems into specific questions using the template we discussed. Define the exact metric you need to see. And step 3, share those questions to begin creating a predictive dashboard blueprint.
I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought as you head back to your business today. Think about all those fragmented systems you are currently running. The disconnected spreadsheets, the legacy software that refuses to talk to your accounting platform.
Yeah, the silos.
If those systems were actively hiding one massive financial leak, or on the flip side, one huge missed growth opportunity, what does your gut tell you it is? What is the one truth about your business that you strongly suspect is happening, but you simply don't have the unified data to prove it yet?
The cost of not knowing the answer to that question is almost always higher than the cost of finding out. Every quarter that passes with incomplete insights is a quarter where you surrender your competitive advantage.
Don't let another quarter slip away. If you are ready to stop arguing over whose spreadsheet is right and start making effective decisions, you need to talk to the team at C9. They are Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company.
They really are the trusted partner equipped to build the tailored solutions you need to protect your margins and accelerate your growth.
It is time to regain visibility. You can book a no-obligation discovery session to map out your data and start building those quick-win dashboards. Go to www.c9.com.au.
That is www.c9.com.au.
Be sure to click the follow button on the C9 podcast show. Share this deep dive with other Australian business owners and C-level executives in your network who need to regain control of their data. Because remember, you cannot successfully fly a plane by sticking your head out the window.
It's time to fix the instrument panel.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.